Oh, why hello, I didn't see you there. I was just about to start one of my favorite books, Make Today Count, by John C. Maxwell. Why don't I read you an excerpt while you're here? Chapter 1, Attitude. I discovered the importance of attitude in 1964 when I was 17 years old. My high school basketball coach, Don Neff, took me aside at the beginning of my senior season and told me that he wanted me to be captain of the team. I was excited, but I was also a little surprised because I knew that my teammate John Thomas was a better player than I was. But then Coach Neff said something that explained it. John, he said, you have the best attitude on the team, and it influences the other players. Just a few weeks later, I was named Citizen of the Month at my school. Why? Once again, it was because of my attitude. My teachers said they loved my attitude. Then it sank in. My attitude was making a difference in my life, and it was making an impact on the people around me. That's when I made my attitude decision. I'm going to keep a positive attitude and use it to influence others. Many people in this world mistakenly believe that attitude is set. It has become such a habit for them that they believe it can't be changed. They see it as one of the cards of life they've been dealt, such as height or a history of cancer in the family, but that's not true. Making the decision to choose and display the right attitude daily. Your attitude is a choice. If you desire to make your day a masterpiece, then you need to have a great attitude. If it's not good now, then you need to change it. Make the decision. Here's how. Take responsibility for your attitude. After my wife, Margaret, and I had been married for 4 or 5 years, we went to a conference for pastors, where I had been asked to be one of the speakers. Margaret also agreed to do a breakout session for spouses. Speaking is not a passion for her, as it is for me. She does a good job, but she doesn't really enjoy it that much. I wanted to support her, so I attended her session. During the Q&A time, a woman stood up and asked, "Does John make you happy?" I have to say, I was really looking forward to hearing Margaret's answer. I'm an attentive husband, and I love Margaret dearly. What kind of praise would she lavish me? What kind of praise would she lavish on me? Does John make me happy? She considered. No, he doesn't. I looked to see where the closest exit was. The first 2 or 3 years we were married, she continued, I thought it was John's job to make me happy, but he didn't. He wasn't mean to me or anything. He's a good husband, but nobody can make another person's happy. That's my job. As a young newlywed in her early 20s, she figured out something some people never learn. Each of us must take responsibility for our own attitude. If you want today to be a good day, you need to take charge of the way you look at it. Decide to change your bad attitude areas. I've read the Peanuts comic strip for years, and I've always been a big fan. I recall one strip in which Lucy announces, "Boy, do I feel crabby." Her little brother Linus, always anxious to relieve tension at home, responds, "Maybe I can be of help. Why don't you just take my place here in front of the TV while I go and fix you a nice snack? Sometimes we all need a little pampering to help us feel better." Then Linus brings her a sandwich, a few chocolate chip cookies, and some milk. "Now, is there anything else I can get you?" he asks. "Is there anything I haven't thought of?" "Yes, there's one thing you haven't thought of," Lucy answers, and then she suddenly screams, "I don't want to feel better." And for many years, the late Charles Schurz drew peanuts. That always seemed to be one of Lucy's problems. She didn't want to change in the areas where she had a bad attitude. She had a lot of them. Many people are like her. I mentioned there are things in your life you cannot choose, such as your parents, where you were born, or your race. But your attitude is something you can change. And just about everybody has at least a few areas in their thinking that could use some helping. If you want to have a better day, then you need to go after those areas. Think, act, talk, and conduct yourself like a person you want to become. Think, act, talk, and conduct yourself like the person you want to become. If you've been to any kind of class reunion 10 or more years after graduation, then you've probably been surprised by the transformation of one of your former classmates. the misfit who became a famous lawyer, the plain Jane who blossomed into a movie star, or the geek who found a major corporation? Or the geek who founded a major corporation? How do such transitions occur? Those people changed how they thought of themselves. You saw them as they were, or how you thought of them, or how you thought they were. They saw themselves as they could be. Then they earned to act like and acquire the skills of the people they wanted to be. The transformation usually takes time. Often it's barely noticeable to those who see them every day, just as parents don't see changes in babies the way others do. But to someone who hasn't seen them in 10, 20, or 30 years, the transformation seems miraculous, like a butterfly from a caterpillar. If you desire to change yourself, then start with your mind. Believe you can improve, that you can change into the person you desire to be. Ralph Waldo Emerson said, What lies behind us and what lies before us are the tiny matters compared to what lies within us. If your thinking changes, then everything else can follow. Place a high value on people. One of the secrets of maintaining a good attitude is valuing people. You can't dislike people and have a good attitude at the same time. Think about it. Have you ever met anyone who always treated other people badly but had a positive attitude? Likewise, you cannot have a bad attitude and encourage others at the same time. Encouraging means helping people, looking for the best in them, and trying to bring out their positive qualities. That process drives negative thoughts right out of your head. Your interaction with others sets the tone of your day. It's like the music of your life. When your interaction with others is poor, it's like having to listen to cacophonous music. But when you place a high value on people and you treat them well, it's like listening to a sweet melody as you go through your day. Develop a high appreciation for life. Have you ever known people who complain about everything? Their soup's too hot, their bed's too cold, their vacation's too short, their pay's too low. You sit side by side with them at a magnificent banquet, and while you enjoy every morsel, they tell you what's wrong with each and every dish. Such people don't appreciate life. No matter how good it gets. A friend emailed to me the story of a very together and independent 92-year-old lady who was moving into a nursing home. Since she was legally blind and her husband of 70 years had passed away, the move was her only option. She waited in the lobby of the facility for a long time before finally being told that her room was ready, and as she was escorted down the corridor, her attendant described the room, down to the curtains hung on the windows. "I love it," the elderly woman enthused, "but you haven't even seen the room yet. Just wait," the attendant responded. "That doesn't have anything to do with it," she replied. "Happiness is something you decide on ahead of time. Whether I like my room or not doesn't depend on how the furniture is arranged. It's how I arrange my mind." Appreciation isn't a matter of taste or sophistication. It's a matter of perspective. John Wooden said, "Things turn out best for the people who make the best of the ways things turn out." The place to start is with the little things. If you can learn to appreciate them and be grateful for them, you'll appreciate the big things as well as everything in between. Managing the discipline of attitude. If you want to benefit from the possibilities of a positive attitude, you need to do more than just make the decision to be positive. You also have to manage the decision. For me, in the area of attitude, it means one thing. Every day I will make the adjustments necessary to keep my attitude right. If this is new territory for you, you may be wondering how to do it, and here are some guidelines to help you on your way. Recognize that your attitude needs daily adjustments. I've discovered that a person's attitude does not naturally or easily stay positive. For example, a lifelong attitude weakness I've had is my impatience with people. It was a problem even back when I was young in school. When the teacher set aside a day to review before the exam, I got dirty looks when I asked, if we've got it the first time, do we have to come back for review? And I still fight impatience. Every day I ask myself, have I been impatient with someone? When I have, I apologize to the person. I've had to do that more times than I'd like to admit. Like any discipline, your attitude will not take care of itself. That's why it needs to be attended to daily. The stronger your natural inclination to be pessimistic or critical, the more attention your attitude will need. Begin each day with an attitude check, and watch for red flags signaling that your attitude might be in trouble. Find something positive in everything. Not long ago, I came across a prayer that I thought was wonderful. It said, Dear Lord, so far today I am doing all right. I have not gossiped, lost my temper, been greedy, grumpy, nasty, selfish, or self-indulgent. I have not whined, cursed, or eaten any chocolate. However, I am going to get out of bed in a few minutes, and I will need a lot more help after that. Amen. It may not always be easy, but if you try hard enough, you can find something good, even in the midst of difficult situations. In Laugh Again, my friend Chuck Swindoll explains that when Mother Teresa was asked the requirements for people's assistance in her work with the destitute in Calcutta, she cited two things, the desire to work hard and a joyful attitude. If someone could be expected to be joyful among the dying and the poorest of the poor, then certainly we can do the same in our situation. Just find something positive in every situation. Nothing helps a person to maintain positive like having an ally. The world is filled with negative people. In fact, they often flock together. The positive people are everywhere too. You'll often find them soaring above the negative people, like eagles. When you do, seek them out. If you're having a hard time, get close and draft behind them the way racers do. If they're having difficulty, you be the one to go out front. And make things easier. Two positive people are much better at fighting off the blues than someone going in alone. Say something positive in every conversation. I've tried to make it a habit to include positive comments in every conversation with others. It starts with the closest to me. When my wife looks beautiful, which is often, I tell her so. I compliment my children every time I see them, and I absolutely pour out praise every time I see my grandchildren. But I don't stop there. I sincerely compliment, praise, acknowledge, boister, raise up, and reward people whenever I can. It's wonderful. It's wonderful for me as well as for others. I highly recommend it, and I know you can learn to do it too. Remove negative words from your vocabulary. My father retired in his mid-70s, but he spent his entire life in public speaking. He came from a modest background, so he was always working hard to learn and grow. When I was a kid, he used to pay my brother Larry and me 10 cents for every grammatical mistake we found him making when he was preaching. It was one example of how he was constantly trying to improve himself. I suspect he also did it so we would learn more about grammar ourselves. You can do a similar kind of thing when it comes to your attitude. You or someone you enlist can be on the lookout for negative words in your vocabulary. So here you can try to eliminate them. Here's a list to get you started. Eliminate these words. I can't. If only. I don't think. I don't have the time. Maybe. I'm afraid. I don't believe. And say these words instead. I can. I will. I know I will make the time. Absolutely. I'm confident. I'm sure. If you continually look and embrace the positive and eliminate the negative, you'll help yourself to begin thinking more positively every day. Express gratitude to others daily. Of all virtues, gratitude seems to be the least expressed. How often do people go out of their way to thank you? How often do you receive a thank you note when you give a gift? More important, how often do you extend your thanks to others? In our culture of plenty, we tend to take things for granted. A few years ago, Oprah Winfrey encouraged her millions of TV viewers to keep a gratitude journal to help them appreciate life. Amy Vanderbilt, journalist and etiquette book author said, "When we learn to give thanks, we are learning to concentrate not on bad things, but on the good things in our lives. Thinking about the good things helps us to be grateful. Remaining grateful helps us to have a more positive attitude, and having a positive attitude prompts us to think about the good rather than the bad. It's a positive cycle that helps to fuel itself." Your attitude decision today. Where do you stand when it comes to your attitude today? Ask yourself these 3 questions. Have I already made the decision to choose and display the right attitude daily? If so, when did I make that decision? And number 3, what exactly did I decide? Your attitude discipline every day. Based on the decision you made concerning attitude, what is the one discipline you must practice today and every day in order to be successful? Well, that wraps up Chapter 1 of Make the Day Count. Please let me know what you thought in the comments, and tell me, how are you going to make today count? Thanks for watching.